southeastern forests, hills of the southeast, I suppose, to the desert southwest. It is Ground Control with Major Tom and Keith AZ. I am Thomas Wolf. Major Tom, if you're in the chat. Speaking of chat, hello to everybody in chat at freedomslips.com, Revolution Radio. You're tuned into Studio A. Welcome. Keith, what's up?
Hey, Thomas, can you hear me all right, sir?
Crystal clear.
Excellent, excellent. I had some mic issues, so I'm always wanting to check that. Anyway, Tolec is a first-time guest. I got in touch with him through our good friend JP Prometheus of Wolf Spirit Radio, sister station to this network, and of course produces Strange Universe with Sean David Morton, and used to do a show on Tuesday nights here. And or was it Monday? Any rate, he's now just focusing on Wolf Spirit Radio, and was on the air with him and Tolec, and said, "Man, I got to get you on, and because this is right in the subject matter I most like to talk about, which is our relationship with extraterrestrials and personal and spiritual growth." Tolec, are you there, sir?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Excellent. We're good to go. So anyway, I was just kind of giving you a little bit of an introduction while you sorted that out. Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself and Adona?
Okay, sure. The first thing I'll do is just provide a brief update, more of an introduction regarding me. And then I'll allow Adona to come in after me. And then we can certainly have whatever kind of dialogue that you'd like to have. So I was appointed, I don't even know how long ago, as, if you will, an emissary, a representative for the Andromeda Council back on my homeworld of Dakota. And to make this clear, I'm, just like you are, I'm a male human living an Earth human life, but my original, if you will, soul essence comes from the planet Dakota in the Pleiades. In the Tegeta star system. And so I was awakened to this information in the summer of 1993 when I was taken on 3 separate time travel trips based in like a Andromeda Council scout craft, 35, 40 feet in diameter. And I was living in Tucson at the time. And the man who I know as the commander of the primary Andromeda Council biosphere, he picked me up 3 separate occasions down around the San Javier exit out in the desert. And he took me back to the mid-1840s, rural West Virginia, rural Kentucky. And I was able to observe a family of 4 in their day-to-day life struggles. And if you want some information regarding that, some more details, I can certainly share it with you.
Oh, I'm very curious about that. I'd love to hear about that, but please continue.
Okay. I know I've told the story quite a few times, but the major impact from that experience of mine was the fact that during the last visitation, and we're in his craft hovering over this family's farm. Again, this is 1840s, rural America. So they've got a barn, they have a field full of crops. They also have a barn for animals, completely separate. And there was a barn fire. And the youngest child, a daughter of like 3 or 4 years old, blonde hair, cute little thing, was in the barn when the fire happened. And she passed away due to smoke inhalation. And I looked at this gentleman and said, out of all of the events that you could have had me experience, why this one? And he essentially said, well, there are a few reasons. One is the fact that genetically, this body you have, you are related to these people genetically. So if we were going to have you connect to something in the past, it would be good to have it happen with a family you might have some connection to. The other reason is that as higher dimensional people, at that time that I met him, he and all the people that I know today, they were in the upper vibrational level of 4D. Today, comparatively, they're 5D. They're like 5.2, 5.3 humans. He said, as higher dimensional people, we don't experience the breadth of emotions that you Earth humans do. And so it's important for us because there are some events coming in your planet's future. There are some shifts coming. And if we're going to better understand your people on this planet and to better help them, we can use you as an intermediary, as a way to, gauge your emotions, have us be able to gauge the emotions of other humans. It's good for us to observe somebody who we've known for a long time. I went, okay. And the third reason was, as higher dimensional humans whose bodies are based on crystalline fine essence matter, fourth dimensional, fifth dimensional people, their bodies, because they're made of energy, they don't die. They simply evolve. Whether it's 7,000 or 8,000 years or 9,000 years or even 6,000 years as a fourth dimensional human, when they're ready to become fifth dimensional, they simply make a conscious choice and evolve up to that next vibration of life. And so he said, because we don't die like you experience death, and like you also emotionally experience death, we wanted to observe you and observe the way that you're handling this and what you're feeling. And it was difficult for me to watch. The most difficult part was watching the father of this young girl.
Yeah.
And what he had to go through. There were two other events in my life which confirmed my own, if you will, extra-dimensional, extraterrestrial heritage. And I won't get into them now, but suffice it to say that those events confirmed that I was an ordinary Earth human having some pretty extraordinary experiences. I'm going to turn over the floor and the microphone to Adona. And as I shared with you when we first communicated, Adona was born with inner ear nerve damage. And it means that she has to wear hearing aids in order to hear. She can hear quite well, but what will help her is if you slow down and are more deliberate in your speech. And if you could do that, that would help everybody, especially her.
Okay.
Would that be all right for you?
Certainly.
Okay. So I'll have Adona step up and tell you her story.
Hello, Keith.
Hi, Adona.
In regard to my story, my life experiences began when I was very young. I will start with the age of 12, when I was given a message by the angel that told me that my grandmother was going to pass away when Mother was driving me to school. And I asked the angel mentally, telepathically, when is she going to pass away? And they said within an hour. Well, that afternoon, my mother told my brother and I the news that Mama passed away. And I asked her, what time did Mama pass away? She said 8:15 a.m. in the morning. Well, the message was given to me at 7:30 a.m. as she was driving me to school. So I was brokenhearted because Mama and I were very close. And I asked the Creator that night that I wanted to see Mama for one last time, to say goodbye to her. And she materialized with two tall, angelic beings at the foot of my bed about midnight. And at the child of 12, I'm a very good lip reader. But Mama was not lip reading. Mama was not vocalizing. She wasn't moving her lips. but she was telepathically talking to me to tell me that she is moving on to heavens. Well, she came back to be my telepathic teacher because my mother wouldn't let her go. So from the age of 12 to the age of 18, Memo would pop in and out and was talking to me in telepathy. So I didn't know what telepathy was back in those days. I just knew that I could communicate with her mind to mind. And at the age of 18, Mother finally, out of the blue, told me she let Memo go, and I did not see Memo again after that. So I put away my telepathic communication to learn about Earth life from the age of 18 to the age of 32. At the age of 32 is when a life-changing event occurred at the front of my house in Bay City, Texas area on a rainy, stormy night when I asked the Creator, I was open to the possibility of things of manifestation. So I asked the Creator to show me the wonders of the heavens. And a scout craft of a cigar-shaped type was the size of a small house materialized in front of my house in the middle of the country. There was nobody around. And there were 5 rectangular windows, but there was nobody in the windows. Now, I have been raised in the aviation business, so I know the identifiable airplanes of its time. And I knew that this was totally not of this planet. And that changed my life. And at the time that it happened, it triggered back to the age of 7 when I was picked up by the little people. And I was taken aboard a circular craft where they were healing me with color therapy. And I remember coming out of that room where a very, very tall, about 7 foot tall, commander who happens to have long blonde hair, fair skin, and Pleiadian, very deep blue eyes. And I asked him, where am I going? He said, we're taking you back home. And I didn't want to go back because it was very peaceful and I was familiar with these people. They were good, kind people, and I didn't want to go back. But he said, you have to go back because you have a mission to do. You will forget for a time, but he said, I promise you we will awaken you when you become an adult. And that's what happened at the age of 32. And so my telepathy came back, my visions and dreams and premonitions, the whole 9 yards of the gifted abilities that I have came back to me. And I proceeded to go through the wrapping up of loose ends of my former life and went into my mission at hand. And up to this point, I am helping people to reconnect to their star families. And that's where the starancestry.com came about in last November, because it was time for the people to reunite with each other, because these star people are here to reach out to their family members to let them know that they're not alone and they are here with us. And that's how it came to be.
Well, that's beautiful. You know, one of the things I think my job is to help people understand that we really are part of the family. This is a question that's come up on this show previously. The question is, why are the extraterrestrials visiting us? And one of the answers is because we are family. We are genetically linked. Going back, one of the subject matters I'd love to get into is the our galactic history of how we came here and the various star races that have participated in our genetic history. So we really are brothers and sisters. And for the audience listening, this sounds pretty wild for some people, but I've told my story. I've been very open and honest for the very reason you're talking about, Adona, is because it's increasingly time now. Disclosure in many respects has already happened. We had Ben Rich, I believe he was CEO. I forget what exactly his position was, but he's basically the top guy in Lockheed Martin, a defense contractor building the stealth bombers and all of the SR-71, super high technology. He said we have the technology to take ET home. And then recently we had Bob Bigelow go out on television and tell the interviewer, and of course he's a billionaire. If anybody doesn't know who Bob Bigelow is, do a Google search on him. I mean, the dude. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was chuckling because I knew of Bob Bigelow back in the early to mid '90s when he was making, if you will, noise in the UFO ET circles, and he was doing things quietly. Not anymore.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. And there was a prediction recently. I forgot who said it, but he said it won't come through government. It will come through powerful individuals. And boy, you can't get much more powerful than somebody like Bob Bigelow, a billionaire aeronautics pioneer, entrepreneur. So he tells the interviewer, they're asking him, well, do you want to, you're, doing working on space projects. Do you think you'll find ET out there? He says, no, they're here right now. Aliens are here now. So this is the biggest story in the history of mankind. So I do want to really stress that we're not. I've had my experiences, and it seems like a science fiction story. Tolec, would you like to comment further?
Sure. I'll comment, and then I'll have Adona chime in because we both had a lot of experiences, mutual experiences over the years. So first of all, and this is, I don't know where to begin, but I'll start it here. As Adona has been doing this star ancestry work since early November, because we're essentially brother and sister, and I'll get into that as well, but here's my point. My point is that she has spoken with in excess of a couple of hundred people. 95% of those people have gotten premium star ancestry reports. And she's not only provided these reports to a couple hundred plus people, the number may even be as high as 300 now, all across the world. So not only in the US, but in 27 plus countries. And to get to the point is all of the people that she is sharing this premium report with have learned that the slice of their soul that is on this planet, I call it a spirit essence, their spirit essence that's animating, giving life to this human body, people have predominantly come from places in the Pleiades, places from the Arcturian star system, Lyra, where else, Donna? People from the Andromeda galaxy. So, are there extraterrestrials walking around on this planet? Well, not only is the answer yes, it is emphatically yes, because based on what my contact people have told me, at least 70% of the souls that have come here to live Earth human lives in the past 100,000 years, 70% of those Earth human souls are not from this planet. They're from other star systems and other galaxies. So even Earth humans are not really Earth humans. Like myself, Adona and I, our spirit essence first experienced life on the planet Dakota in the Pleiades. But and so on Dakota, we're actually brother and sister on that planet. And on this planet, we met in Tucson back in 1994. And that's just a sample of what people are waking up to. So are there ETs here? Yes. Earth human ETs who are from other star systems. Are there also human or humanoid ETs from other planets on this planet at this time? Yes. Why don't you tell them about that the conference in Texas that we went to and the Arcturian?
Oh, we were at Presidio, Texas, which is way down.
Almost on the border.
Right, yeah, right at the border between Texas and Mexico, and
it's a conference that Ruben.
Uriarte?
Yes.
Yeah, I know him.
yeah.
yeah.
So Ruben and his business partner. It's one of their conferences. It was the one in 2013 that we went to. Go ahead.
And we were sitting up the front row, and there was a very tall, calm in appearance, black gentleman sitting on the other side of Tolec. And I looked over there, and I knew immediately he is not from this planet.
Right.
He came to observe the speakers, the reactions of the people in the room, and he disappeared.
And this was, in terms of measuring the audience size, this was the last event actually that Lloyd Pye spoke at. When when he was still alive. Travis was there, but I think we did a rough count. There were only like 35 people in the audience.
Right.
And Adona and I looked at each other and went, this guy's not from here. We could tell right away. And there was a moment when I think 3/4 through Lloyd's presentation, he got up very quietly. He was dressed in a one-piece like motorcycle outfit, picked up his helmet very quietly and just kind of walked out. Adona, is there any other information?
No, it's the fact that he was just there to observe and then leave and report back to his people. I want to add additional information in regards to the reality of our star people. Is that when I was in Houston at the time, back in the, I would say 1988 time frame, there was what I call a crystal lady. She sells a lot of crystals and things at her table. And we got to talking, and she said, can I ask my Air Force Colonel son, who happens to be the security branch of the United States Air Force, about you? I said, sure. I have nothing to hide. Go ahead and talk to him. And this is about a month later, she came back to me and said, this is what he said. He said, Mother, I am under oath. I cannot reveal to you anything. But Mother, I will tell you this. I will not anger her or them. I will stick close to her, for she is under the umbrella. And I said, what does that mean? And she said, basically, you are real, extraterrestrials are real, and UFOs are real. They are here among us. And she said that basically, I'm starting to bring in my UFO researchers into our group so that they could be educated as to what is out there among the stars.
So those of you listening, if you want to meet an alien, you can, but I highly suggest you put it out there that you want to meet a good one. Ask for the highest good.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes. By the way, Keith, since we all live in this area, Shekina Rose, who is a very talented young woman, very gifted, similar to Adona, very, very, both of them are very gifted women. Shekina and some other people are starting to pull together a monthly group, a monthly meeting of, let's call us star seeds. And actually, that's a correct term. Anyone who feels that they are not from this planet, that they are from a planet in the Pleiades, they're from Arcturus, they're from Lyra. There's going to be a monthly get-together at the Awareness Center, which just opened in Cottonwood.
Oh, great.
Yeah, so if people want to get together and just sit and talk for 2 or 3 hours, it'll happen at the Awareness Center every month. And we've got to nail down a particular day that we're going to do it in a week, but I'll let you know as soon as we start getting that thing going.
I'll be there. That's just down the street and around the corner for me.
Yeah. Yep, I know. That's why I mentioned it. Yeah. So there's so many facets of this topic that deserve explanation. But one, at least as it regards Adona and I, and when we speak at the different events that we're speaking at, whether it was the conference in Tucson last year or future ones, and I'll let Adona share her own thoughts on this, but at least from my perspective, and I say this quite humbly, apparently I signed up for this work a long time ago.
Yep.
And they told me just recently that my job, my work is that of an emissary. So I looked up the word. I knew that it was connected to diplomatic work, but an emissary is somebody who really is responsible for sharing and relaying information without color or judgment or attitude. And that's what I feel that I'm trying to do my best job doing, is to simply share all of the things that I've learned that people can read about on the Andromeda Council website, or the different videos that I produce, and they're up on the YouTube channel. I've just tried to be the best information agent and the best teacher that I can be, to help people understand this time of transition that we're in toward becoming a higher dimensional world, because that's what's coming in our near future.
That's right.
Donna, your thoughts about that?
That's correct. In that I want to say this. Basically, we're at the beginning of this change, this transformation. There will be more and more manifestations appearing to people than it has ever done before, because of the speed up process of the frequency and vibration that's coming into the planet. It also makes it easier, kind of like a bridge between the higher dimensional beings and the earth people that are choosing to evolve and meet in the middle. So this is happening. There has been instances where manifestation has been occurring in a faster rate than it has been 30 years ago. I remember 30 years ago, we may get manifestations like a year, 2 years, or 5 years. Not anymore. We get manifestation occurring in days and weeks rather than years. So another thing that I'm learning from our star people is that as many of the people that are awakened, there's a need for teachers, there's a need for telepathic communicators, there's a need for healers, all manners of gifted abilities that the people have, that they have agreed upon prior to their incarnations on this planet, to help facilitate the change and make it easier for the people that are going through that change, to make it more smoother for them. And also bringing in the teachings of what it's like to live in a higher dimensional world that Earth will be coming into. levitation, teleportation, telepathy, all of these things that are coming into the picture. The education as we know is obsolete. All of the old programs that the controllers have put on humanity will become obsolete. And the new higher dimensional programs, for the lack of a better word, and education coming into play here with the help of our star people, our star families, because we are about to return to the galactic community in the universe. So this is part of the higher councils, joint councils, the many councils that have gathered from the heavens, so to speak, that are working on this on our behalf. But at the same time, we are responsible for our own growth. We're responsible for our own, choices, whether we evolve or not. We're also responsible for this planet Earth. There's a lot of cleanup to do with this planet Earth. And our star people are not our saviors. They are here to help us because they're our family. But we have to be the ones to step up to the plate and begin to make repairs to the Earth and help ourselves and help each other to evolve.
Yeah, it's definitely a self-responsibility role. The people from the at least 4 different races, Ventra, Tolec, Nicate, and Retol, who have volunteered to start coming down to planet Earth when, at least in this current age, our civilization will reach its intellectual peak, spiritual peak, et cetera, as well as the peak of all Earth changes.
Now, Tolec, I'm sorry to interrupt. Those are all star systems in the Pleiades, I'm guessing?
No.
Or are those different?
No, these are in different star systems, but they are all senior homeworlds of senior Andromeda Council members.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, there are. And as long as I'm on that topic, I'll branch off for a moment. I just learned, like within the past three months or so, that though we know the Andromeda Council by name of Andromeda Council here on this planet, because it has senior members from homeworlds in the Andromeda Galaxy, the Andromeda Constellation as we view it from Earth, and homeworlds in the Milky Way Galaxy as well. The out in deep space, it's known by its ambassadors and diplomats as the Galactic Council. And here's what I've learned recently. This Galactic Council is, to use a metaphor, it's actually a mother council of a number of high councils, like the Syrian High Council, the Arcturus High Council, the Procyon High Council. All of these governing and development bodies are part of this greater council, this deep space, intergalactic, interdimensional UN. And why is this relevant? Well, it's relevant because all of these peoples have all been through different transformation in their lives at different stages. And except for a handful of 3D organic planets like we are today, the greater majority of these senior members are 4D all the way up to 9D beings. And the 9D people are from Arcturus. Why is this all relevant? It's relevant because they're here to be our helpers, and they're going to help teach us what life will be like once we become a higher dimensional world, once that change is made. And they're going to help us understand what life is like living as a higher, the literal aspects of living as a higher dimensional being. It's not their jobs to do the work for us. It's our jobs to do the work. But will they be assistants and teachers in the process? Yes, they will. And of course, then there are a whole bunch of other people like Adona and I and Simon Parks and JP and Alex Collier and a whole bunch of others that have been teaching for years about all this stuff. So yeah,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say we're here to help as much as people want help.
And as much as we allow ourselves to be helped, it's very interesting. People, some seem to be very resistant, trying to hold on. As Adona, I've got a lot of comments. We're coming up to the break pretty quick here, but some people are trying to hold on to the old way of doing things, and those programs, those patterns, they're self-destructing. I mean, they're imploding. So we are moving into this regardless, kicking and screaming, or choosing the joy of the expansion of the higher awareness. I mean, it's just a fact. Adona, you're exactly correct. The very frequency of the vibration is rising. And what that means is everybody's getting more telepathic. We saw this with our election. We're seeing through the lies of our media and our political leaders. We have to be our own leaders. My movement, Tolec, is occupy yourself. So it's up to us. We can't fix things outside of us, other people, I mean, but we can change ourselves and raise our vibration. And that's what we hope to do. The other part of this is happening is that the veils between reality are getting thinner. So we're seeing, these interdimensional interactions are easier now than they ever used to be, and continuing to get so. So those of you listening, if you want to choose to have this higher conversation, again, always ask for the highest good, because you can go down many paths, and some of them are not to your benefit. So use some discernment and be careful. But it's there, and like Adona, you were saying, your loved ones that have passed on, go ahead and communicate to them. If you are feeling like you never told them that you love them and you wish you had, they will hear that message, and you may even get a reflection back depending on how sensitive you are. But we can all develop this, and your comment, Adona, too, about I recently had dreams both of time travel and teleporting. Two things. I've always wanted to fly, levitate, and I love it when I have a lucid dream and I go, oh, I'm dreaming. That means I can fly. But I was walking through a doorway and walking out another doorway in a completely different place miles away, and then I time traveled back, and I was what I did is I sent my consciousness to my younger self, and I was telling this guy I was working with, I said, I'm talking to you from the future, from 20 years in the future. Just a trip. Anyway, we are coming up to the break, Tolec and Adona. Do you mind if I've got a lot of people wanting to ask questions. Do you mind if we take some calls in the second hour?
That would be great. Sure, absolutely. Yep.
And Thomas, did you have any questions for our guests?
Well, I mean, it's a lot, and I didn't know if I got to say hello to the I was trying to bring the chat room up and make sure there were no questions, but Toltec, I'm hearing this and learning, and I do have questions, but is there any kind of material that you could point any other first-time listeners to that would give them a sort of a general idea of just how to accept this type of news? Because in my mind, it seems there's a mass majority of people that just don't want to be open to the possibility that there are others out there, or are other planets, or are
I think there's a lot. I think there's a lot more than you might think, Thomas. I keep finding people I would never think would be open to this kind of information. Yet, I'll talk about it anyway because I just don't care. And they'll say, "Oh yeah, I saw a UFO way back when so and so." And it's I think there's a lot more openness to this. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, my answer is twofold. First of all, I think you would probably get this answer from almost anybody that's doing this kind of work, including Adona. It's not our job to try to convince people of the information that we've learned and the knowledge that we've accrued. It is our responsibility, I believe, to share the information in as a clear, detailed, and concise manner as possible. And people are going to ask questions and decide to learn to whatever degree that they're curious. But it's not our job to convince them. If they're curious and they're interested, then there's all sorts of information. So to answer that question, they can go to the Andromeda Council, COUNCIL.com website. There's a load of information, and there's also a frequently asked questions page.
Excellent. And we will plug the Andromeda. We will plug the website after the break. Please stay tuned for any calls if we'll be able to take them. But I'm going to let the guests decide. Back in just a moment, folks.
Radio at freedomslips.com, and we'll be right back after this message.
Enjoy your extra big-ass fries.
You didn't give me no fries. I got an empty box.
Would you like another? Extra big-ass fries.
I said I didn't get any.
Thank you. Your account has been charged. Your balance is 0. Please come back when you can afford to make a purchase.
No.
I'm sorry you're having
Come
trouble.
on. My kids are starving.
Thank you for tuning in to Revolution Radio. Here at Revolution Radio, we believe in freedom of ideas, freedom of speech, but above all, we believe in freedom of existence through self-reliance. This station is 100% listener-supported, and as a fundraising promotion, I have a kick-ass free gift for a $100 donation. 35,000 seeds. 25 years in the freezer. Long-term storable, 54 different varieties. So if food prices go crazy, the shit hits the fan, or if you just want to save tons of money every year by creating your own food like I do, grab our seed pack special. Just look for the banner on the homepage at freedomslips.com. Don't be a statistic. Don't be part of the problem. Be part of the solution. We need, as humans, to start taking care of ourselves and not depending on the megacorps to provide unhealthy, nasty food. Included in this package is also a DVD with 900 survival and off-grid living documents and the offline home canning how to do everything website all on the DVD. So when you're growing all that food, you know how to can it, store it, preserve it, etc. with all these documents. So thank you for tuning in to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. I hope that you will pick up this package and start learning to be free. Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, where information never sleeps and freedom is one seed that needs to be planted.
What we do in life, it goes in eternity.
Looking for a nightcap to fill your listening needs? Come join us on Spaced Out Radio with me, Dave Scott, right here on Revolution Radio. Monday through Friday for 3 hours a night, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, we will take you down the supernatural path. From ET contact to the paranormal and all of the spiritual, cryptid, and conspiracy stories in between. You can find us right here on Revolution Radio, at spacedoutradio.com, on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, and on Facebook at Spaced Out Radio Show. Spaced Out Radio. It's a night of talk and interaction. Are you experienced?
Most guys freeze. That's your cerebral cortex looking for an answer it doesn't have. See? Even your brain knows you're screwed.
The blood is filling with adrenaline right now, whether you know it or not. Your heart's beating fast. It's getting a little harder to breathe. The neurobiological system is telling it to run, but your knees are too weak to move.
Fear is not real. The only place that fear can exist is in our thoughts of the future. It is a product of our imagination, causing us to fear things that do not at present and may not ever exist. That is near insanity. Do not misunderstand me. Danger is very real, but fear is a choice. We are all telling ourselves a story.
You're listening to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. 100% listener-supported radio. Reporting to danger. Unafraid. Right here, where information never sleeps. Revolution Radio. The opinions expressed on this radio station, its programs, and its website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and freedomslips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
To find a way to make that plural. Hostesses, or hosters. Yes, we are Keith AZ and myself, Major Tom, on Ground Control Studio A. If you're just tuning in, this is hour 2, and it's flown by. I do want to reintroduce the guest for anyone just tuning in, and we'll plug the website and again. But real quick, please do yourself a favor and the station and every other listener across the world, and join in clicking that donate tab to really keep Revolution Radio on the air, thriving. I couldn't thank you enough. Like I said, there is 95 plus hosts and producers on 2 studios, Studio A and Studio B. I always encouraged you to click on both because every time of day, 24/7, there is something on that is new. And sometimes the station owner gets on and he'll take up a couple hours of the airwaves, and it's actually a pretty good talk show. I've caught it a couple times, but please, I digress. Click the donate tab and help keep us on the air. We're not paid. It all goes to the station, and it's a great thing.
Yeah, it just keeps the lights on, and it's for bandwidth and servers. It's a 2800 because so many people tune in. So that's all it goes to. Nobody makes a dime.
And we do have people asking about a call-in number in chat. We will give the call-in number out in just a second. I want to make sure Tolec and Adona get to finish up on anything before we add some calls. There's people already lining up. Go ahead, Tolec. If anything you want to follow up or finish up before we open the phones.
No, I don't think so. We've covered a lot of territory, at least in some amount of depth. We actually thought we would throw the ball over into your court and have, if you guys have any additional questions that you'd like to ask before we throw it over to the audience, feel free to ask away.
Well, okay, go ahead, Thomas.
It's about the telekinetic communications, I want to call it, because someone else had told me about that growing up, where they said it was like an outer body experience, and I just want to ask if you've ever had that thought, or if that feeling has ever come to you when you were receiving anything.
Sorry, let's see.
I don't know.
Sorry about that. Go ahead. Tolec, go ahead.
All right, sorry. Yeah, I saw the call come in. Didn't know if it was you or us. So I'm sorry. Ask the question again, please.
Growing up, I had a friend tell me about the same telekinetic communications or psychic communications from what they perceived as someone else being in the room that made them feel comfortable, but they said it was like an outer body experience, that they were there and they heard the person but didn't see any lip moving.
Well, at least to me, that sounds like telepathy. That 3D Earth human was telepathically able to pick up what that higher dimensional being was communicating.
Is there a way that you could try and, I guess, replicate or is it on a receiving basis? Could you try and open yourself to more picking up the phone, so to speak?
I'm gonna try to answer the question based on what I think you're asking. Are you asking, are there some methods that people can use to parenthetically clear themselves so they can be more telepathic? Is that what you're asking?
Yes, that's exactly it.
Okay, yeah. I'm glad I asked. Yeah, actually, it's funny that you asked the question because, and this answer has two answers. I'll give my answer and then I'll let Adona step to the microphone. I was asking a very good friend of ours today, Cheyene Stone, who spoke at my conference in Tucson in October. A very, very talented lady who has some very scientific methods that she uses. And I was asking her about giving me the ability to have, to use an IT metaphor, a bigger pipeline, a bigger pipe, more bandwidth, so that I can have greater telepathic communication. And she said, so she did a few scans of my body and she said, your pineal gland could use to be opened up and cleaned up some more. She said, all other systems in you look really, really good. There's no emotional, schmutz. There's nothing getting in the way. I was like, oh, that's good to know. So actually, based on what she was telling me, and based on everything they've learned, she and her people with quantum techniques get rid of fluoride, because apparently fluoride is absorbed through the roof of the mouth, and that goes directly into the fluid into the brain. And that calcifies, that creates a calcification, a crusty shell over the pineal gland. And the pineal gland is that gland which provides, if you will, an open fiber optic pipeline to the heavens.
Yeah, it's a corollary to the third eye, really, I think.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. It sure is. Now, in terms of different methods, I'll let Adona talk to the aspect of different methods of acquiring telepathy.
The methods are easy to use. Is basically when people are ready emotionally, mentally, and spiritually to begin contact with their guides. The best way to do this is have their guides open the communication, but secure the channel. And sometimes when people first learn to use telepathy, they may sound like they hear their own voice. Well, the reason for that is the guides want the people to be comfortable, because they recognize their own voice in their mind, and it will not startle them. So as they progress, learning how to communicate back and forth, then our guides can use their energy, whether it's masculine energies or whether it's feminine energies, and they will know their energies. They will know that this is this person, this is that person. As they progress along that line. Now, it's supposedly in today's event, because of the high energies that's coming in and saturating this planet, it makes it easier for our people to begin contact with their own guides. But they have to ask for assistance. in the manner that if they cannot hear their guides, ask them to turn off the volume until they can hear them. And when they get comfortable with who they're connecting with, then they can turn the volume down. Same thing with imagery. If the guides are showing them imagery and you can't see it very clearly, ask them to sharpen the imagery, and they will sharpen the imagery. And once they learn and, being connected on that level, then you can tell them, okay, guys, tone it down a little bit, and they will tone it down for you. But we have to ask, a lot of times we don't think about those little details that come along with it. That's been my experience when I went through my own telepathic communications with them. The important thing is for the people to understand is to trust in yourself, trust in your heart, that you can believe that you can communicate with your assigned guides that are assigned to them. So that's my take on it.
I so got to comment on this. Adona, you're so spot on. Trust yourself, first of all. Drop the idea that, I'm not psychic. Just forget about all that. Everybody is. It's the natural part of who we are. So turn down the inner mind chatter. Do meditation. I've had times when I've opened myself up so wide, Adona, I've had to do exactly what you just said. I said, you guys, don't, I got to sleep at some point here.
Right.
But and the food you eat is critical. Clean up your diet. You need, because those that'll also facilitate. But the main thing is getting out of your own way. Every single one of us has guides. I've stressed this many, many times on this show. Connect with your guides. They're right there, and they love you. They're so available, it's ridiculous. I have people telling me, well, I don't really. Yes, you do. You do. You might not get it telepathically, like hearing words, but you will get the information. Go ahead and ask your guides a question, and you may find, you might do something else or rest or wake up in the morning, whatever. But you'll just have that knowingness. So,
as an example, as evidenced by all of the detailed reports that I've provided on the Andromeda Council website, it is my work, but it's not my information. It comes from all of my contacts up on the Andromeda Council. It comes from Andromine, who's the head of the communication telepathy board. It comes from a whole bunch of people. But the information is there because I kept asking detailed questions and more questions, questions and more questions.
And one of the things that happened to me today is that our friend Cheyene Stone, as Tolec mentioned about her scientific mind and mathematic mind that she developed into her gifted abilities, I was receiving a telepathic communication from my guys, and in this lifetime, science and math is not my strong suit. And so here I am having this communication and typing, I was typing on the computer the message, but they were all scientific words, and I'm, like I said, I'm not a scientific person, and my words are usually pretty basic. And normally I will recognize those are not my words, those are my guides' words. They had come through me on paper. So here's another way for people to realize that once they get in contact with their guides, they too will recognize that some of the words that they're using are not the normal everyday words that the people are using.
And practice. Do it every day. Ask your guides every day. You know, some people start out in the morning. You know, I don't care what form it takes, but practice is part of it. I want to comment about fluoride real quick. Fluoride is an industrial waste product that's been put into our water supply and various other things. I mean, you can go buy organic spinach, and if it's been watered with fluoridated water, you're getting packed full of fluoride. It penetrates it is such small particulate, it goes right through the blood-brain barrier. And it's very difficult to get out of your system. Chelating and there's other, do your own research, but clearing out your body physically of fluoride and other toxins is a great asset. Now we do have a good friend joining us. Let's go ahead, Viking. Do you have a question for our guests?
Just a comment, just quickly on the hi everybody. This is the Viking. A pleasure to meet you both.
Oh, thank you.
I'm as far as my galactic soul heritage, I'm M House. I don't know if you know about M House or not, but tall, blonde Nordics. Basically, we've been surfing the galaxy for too many zeros to count, but I did spend some time in the Lyran War and fought the Lyran War. Wasn't very successful, but I spent some time in the Pleiades, and just as you had put it earlier, I'm also an emissary. Basically, been plotted all over the universe to kind of help out and observe and study and share knowledge. I think is the main thing. Share understanding. I think more than knowing. It becomes an understanding after a while, as evolution does show us the way, as long as we're able to surrender. I had a quick comment on telepathy. It's a quick story here. I was caretaking a house and had a water tower, and in the water tower was a clutch of owls, and the owls were basically coming of age, and there was about 4 or 5 of them. They jumped into this huge fir tree that was probably 60, 80 feet tall. And they're all in the branches. And I went outside. It was nighttime. And I sat on the lawn, just kind of sitting, staring at the stars. I started hearing these baby owls. I started hearing, them jump around. And I noticed that the mother and father were doing this patterning in the sky, and they were, doing this kind of Fibonacci sequence, and they were hooting. And what I was realizing that they were downloading the heritage from their ancestral knowledge through the vibratory frequency of their flying into their babies. And I literally, as a baby owl, I started to see the heritage and the lineage of the owl. And very much like our own lineage, again, we all signed contracts to be here, to experience this gauntlet, this 3D karmic spin, to be able to touch back base with our lineage is to understand the frequency and to understand that we are evolving here in our frequency as we wake up, as we start to become attuned to who we truly are, then we start to become available. And I agree. It's finding the trust, but also it's giving yourself permission to break away, because that's the main thing, is that we just we struggle with this 3D paradox of this mind control. And we want to believe, and you really, it's to a point where you have to literally, I call it, do the 180, where you have to let go and trust in yourself, believe in yourself, give yourself permission. And then what happens is that the communications start, and they'll start coming to you little bits and pieces. The main thing is to validate it, like watering a plant or playing an instrument. The more you validate and put time into it, the stronger it gets. And I've shared this on Keith's show. Phone's ringing, but no one's home. You just got to pick up the phone, answer it, and each day, each minute, it'll become stronger as the days and weeks pass. As long as you start validating and believing in your strength here, then your telepathy, or I look at it as a download of communication and understanding, but some people might see it as communicating. Again, it's you're talking to. And we got galactics, we got celestials, we got astrals, we got lineage. I sometimes will tie into my past lives. They still exist on a certain level. Being a Viking, I've definitely tied into my Viking, lives. So so like, where are you going with this information as well, and why are you going with it? For me, it's an unfoldment and a remembering, because it is all about remembering here. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for sharing that. I appreciate it.
Yeah, don't forget the angelic realm as well. We've got help from so many different levels. It's a really amazing time. Well, you know what I like to say, Tolec, is we got tickets to the big show. And Thomas, what a great question that was. Thank you, sir. This is something. This is something I practice every day. I'll go, like, if I'm expecting something that I ordered off eBay, I'll just check. I'll just check and see, is it here at the post office, and I'll get a yes or a no, and I'm always right at this point. And biking, also, your comment, playing instruments and or any creative endeavor also really connects you with that intuitive level.
Yeah, absolutely. And if I may comment, a good friend of mine, Jim Delatoso, once,
I know Jim.
Okay, so all right, there you go. So Jim once said, well, if there are fairies and elves and there are angels, then there are celestials. And he added a few others, but he basically said they're all just different vibratory levels of higher dimensional life. Now, I'm paraphrasing what he said, but he just basically said they're different frequencies of higher dimensional life.
That's right.
And all we're really talking about is, as I used the metaphor today, of clearing out the pipe, the communication pipeline, so it has enough bandwidth so that we can communicate with a variety of people in the heavens, if you will.
I find myself, in comment to Tolec's words, is that one lady said, man, you're like a radio station. You can tap into all of these different dimensions. It just depends on the person and the type of questions the person asks. And, I'm open to, my radio waves is open to connect with all of these different dimensions. So yes, when you broaden that bandwidth where your frequency can move and flow in all of these different dimensions, it's easier to tap into them.
Now, I do have a couple of program notes. If you want to call in, 928-202-4608. And that is my Skype number, so that's only for shows I'm producing. So I don't know if the station number is connected at this time. They were having some issues with that, but this number will work, and that is 928-202-4608. As always, please be on topic and direct a question to our guests. This is not an open roundtable. This is a guest-oriented program tonight. Also, your websites, let's go ahead and remind people what those are, if you would, please, Tolec.
Okay, here we go. The Andromeda Council website is Andromeda, ANDROMEDA, Council, COUNCIL.com. The other website that's equally as important is Transformational Shift Events with an S on the end.com. And that website has all of the international special events and conferences where Adona and I are speaking here in the U.S. and around the globe. So they're both valuable. And Adona's is starancestry.com. Just like people have ancestry.com, Adona's is starancestry.com.
Yeah, I did a past life regression all the way back to when I came here from the galaxy Seth. And we all come from somewhere, and boy, that was a long time ago. I think I've been incarnating here a long time.
I just toss my hat in the ring on that one.
Go ahead.
I learned from my people. Here's the question that I asked. And apparently, I've been a student of the mechanics of time for many, many years.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I asked them with this as a preliminary statement. I said, okay, you guys, You've told me that I've been coming down to this planet for about 75,000 years and incarnating as an Earth human. They're like, yep, that's right. And I'm like, and I'm still doing it. Okay, all right, fine. So I'm here, and I've asked you many times about time and how it works, and to better understand it, and having never been satisfied, or really it's all on me, never really clearly understanding what he was trying to say to me. So I said, I'm going to ask the question from a different perspective. You've told me that I've come down here for 75,000 years. From your perspective, how long does it feel like that I've been gone from the primary Andromeda Council biosphere? And he paused for a moment, and he was like, to use your terminology, about like a 1.5 year business trip.
Wow.
I was blown away that the version of higher dimensional, for lack of better words, time, is so different than what we experience as organic humans here on Earth.
Yeah, I've often said I view time and space as a local phenomenon. When we get into these numbers, it's like a whole different vibration. I don't know. It's like time is different in different places, as best as I can understand.
Yeah, absolutely. And as a matter of fact, the farther you get away from this 3-dimensional organic rock, time goes away. When you get out in space and you leave this planet, time actually just disappears.
As it does in the higher dimensions. I've had the experience of connecting to a place where there is no time in a very real way. I've talked about it on air before. It was a trip. It was like I traveled to the shores of infinity and was on a beach where you can hear the waves, but they don't make any sound. And it's impossible to put into words. So using those terms, I don't want to try to define it anymore because
it's really hard.
Yeah, it takes you further away. Now, there's so many things to talk about. We definitely are going to book you again, Tolec. Next week and the following week are already booked, but perhaps the week after that. We'll talk off air. I do have a couple more quick program notes. Mr. Rowe, thank you. Ben Rich was Director of Special Projects for Lockheed Martin, so thank you for that. And on Friday, July 21st, depending on things could change, I'll be hosting Strange Universe again, and my guest will be our good friend Dan Willis. Do you know who Dan Willis is, Tolec?
Sure do. Yeah, I've spoken with Dan.
Yeah, super guy.
Yes, he is. Yep, absolutely. Yep.
Now, one of the areas I was tempted to get into, but we're kind of running out of show, it's some of the more dark meat, in other words, the nature of the game that we're in right now, and the nature of the forces that are in conflict, and what's happening, and the changes we're seeing. To my experience, there's been a real lightening. A lot of the darker energies, it appears to me, have been either left or been removed. Any comments you'd like to make, sir?
Sure, and I'll keep my comments brief. The people of the Procyon star system planet Cana, from somewhere during 2010 through the middle of 2012, collapsed, destroyed, made to disappear, blew up, etc. 15 undersea operational, Draco-reptilian and Hydra-reptilian operational bases, and 2 underground bases. One of them was to the west of Washington, D.C. It was a network of small underground facilities, lattice network that was collapsed. Why is this relevant? Well, it's relevant because a number of high Illuminati facilities. No, a number of high Illuminati officials. And those are hybrids, as well as high-ranking Cabal reptilian officers were taken off-planet to a tribunal and essentially found guilty of war crimes against humanity. Tens of thousands of reptilian family members, workers, engineers, administrators were also taken off planet. The top operational people, the top generals of what is accurately described as the top hierarchy of the reptilian cabal were taken off planet to such a degree that there are only about 120 reptilians, give or take a few. 65 to 70 are pure, and the others are hybrids. That's all that's left on planet. Why is this relevant? It's relevant because now there's a power vacuum at the top of the bad guys who've been running this planet for years. That's why it's messy.
And I think it means we really have, for the first time in certain ways, in at least recorded history, real opportunity to make this a better place. I mean, we've got all the tools, and if we can just choose love, just decide to be nice to each other, man. We've got the technology, and of course, I think advanced technology, we may be seeing that soon. We'll see. That was one of my predictions at the start of this year, is that we would have greater disclosure and the possibility of some really advanced energy technology in the form, which will make our life considerably easier.
Yeah, actually, while you're here and you're on topic, Cheyenne has a very relevant comment that speaks to that. Go ahead, Cheyenne.
Due to the successes of, we'll call them the white hats, interstellar white hats, as well as those on planet, those of us who have been struggling our entire lives in this life cycle are now being shielded from any additional attacks for the most part. The ones we do get are much more minor right now, and I've been very aware of a major transition. Humans have an opportunity now that they haven't had for a while to choose to evolve and to escalate their consciousness in leaps and bounds if they take the opportunity. And those of us who have some of those tools in place are being called to teach, to speak, to reveal that which is needed in this time for some rapid graduation from higher levels for those who choose it. We're also being filtered from the energy of the collective consciousness through a bifurcation process. Everyone has a choice where they land right now, which pond they're going to swim in. Is it full of scum or is it clear, beautiful water? Right. So as this bifurcation has been taking place, particularly the last 18 months, some of us are feeling major relief. One, that we didn't choose that pond scum, but also that we're not being impacted the way we were before by that collective consciousness. It was as if we were dragging it behind us like dead weight, trying to resuscitate a mummy that had dehydrated thousands of years ago. Now we don't have to carry that dead weight. We are telling those people, we can't graduate you. The kindergarten teacher can't carry 38 of you across the finish line. You've got to get up, put your shoes on, and come to school. And so we're being shielded from that now as we step into this other mode of being a voice and a spokesperson for the information that we're being blessed with telepathically at an astronomical rate. It's just all we can do to keep up.
Yeah, we're all very busy. And that's an understatement.
You know, one of the programs I've had to work on with myself is to really know that I am deserving. I had this, what's very insidious, and I think it goes way, way back, not just generationally, but anyway, enough about that. But so I want to comment, everybody, we deserve it. It's time now.
We deserve it. And anybody that wants to call and get a free session from me, where that's blocked in the body, that's one of the things I'm teaching. One of the things I'm rapidly becoming a higher level instructor and master of is ways to find where that's trapped, not just for yourself, but for we call them miasms, multi-generational fields. So it's time to release that bondage of those past traumas and stop carrying it in our cellular memory. And that's what I do in my daily work. That's my bread and butter. So,
do you have a website, Cheyenne, or how would people contact you?
Well, I will have a website, particularly in regards to me doing these sessions. Meantime, you can contact me at quantumtechniques.com. I am support at quantumtechniques.com. Our phone number is 855-QT, that's Q like Queen, T like Tom, Hills, Heals. And I teach classes for free on webcast and telephone every Tuesday and Thursday. All you've got to do is jump in. I give you discounts on the products. You can do home study and start your journey. And we work on each other in those classes.
I can report to the listeners that this type of work, in my experience, thankfully I had my clairvoyant mother, so I had this very available to do the inner clearing work and clearing out those old programs that don't serve us and those blockages. This is the most effective healing I'm aware of.
That's right. That's right. We go in and we collapse those fields. And this is based on, if anybody here that knows of Bruce Lipton's work or Craig with EFT, we've taken it to an astronomical level. This encompasses spiritual immunity in body, emotional immunity in body, and physical immunity in body. And we attack it from all levels. We don't leave anything out of the pie.
Yeah. Very powerful. Very, very powerful.
Now, in the closing minutes, I want to be sure, Thomas or Viking, if you have any more questions for our guests. And also, Tolec, I want to hear if you do have any events or any conferences you want to tell us about.
Yeah, sure. How are we doing on time? What do we have left?
We've got about...
say 20 minutes?
Yeah, a little less, 18 minutes probably.
All right, this is probably a good time to give people a heads up regarding our special events and conferences, and I'll take them one at a time. Since I know this is going out around the globe, but Keith, Tom, we are here in the greater Sedona, Arizona area, so I'll start with what's going on in the U.S. Here in Arizona, the weekend of September the 16th, we will be producing an event in Tucson called You Revealed. And that will be a different kind of perspective. We're going to be sharing the speakers of that event. Alexandra Metters from Galactic Connection, Shekinah Rose of the Blu-ray and Shekinah Speaks, Suzanne Ross of Supernatural Sedona, Grandmother Star Laughing Fox, right? And actually Cheyenne of Stone Virtue will be telling their personal stories in terms of how they became awakened, how they ultimately connected to the heavens and where they're at today in their lives. So it will be specifically a revelatory day of what these very talented women have been through in their lives. And actually, Adona is included in that bunch. When you read this information on the website, it starts with Tolec and Adona doing these events. The biggest event that I want to share with people is the 2017 Sedona Autumnal Equinox Celebration. And that will be decidedly Native American oriented, sharing the insights and knowledge and star wisdom of the Native Americans. It's the weekend of September the 23rd and 24th of this year. Chief Golden Light Eagle, who is a Nakota, Dakota, and Lakota a hereditary chief, Grandmother Star Laughing Fox, who is a Cherokee Wolf Clan medicine woman. James Gillian from ESETI will be there. Rod Berry Cloud, who's Lakota of Bear Cloud Gallery, will be there. Alexander Metters of Galactic Connection, Shekinah Rose, and actually Clint Culbertson of Lords of Consciousness will be doing some kind of collaborative work. Keith, you're welcome to join us as a guest. I'll get you a VIP pass. Come on over.
Oh, I would love to.
Yeah.
Let me just quickly say for the listeners, these events are a blast. I mean, I have so much fun when I go to them. It's like I feel like I'm home. Oh, I'm with actual normal people, and of course we're talking about aliens. But
you know what? Yeah. Thank you for saying that, because each one of these people that'll be speaking, including Adona, they're all gifted, talented people. They all have incredible knowledge. But the beauty of these events is after the presentations are over and people are milling around in the coffee shops and the restaurants and they go out, that is when some of the real aha moments get to happen. That's when new friendships are started. People from across the country that haven't met before get to talk. those are the really beautiful moments that happen at these different conferences and events. And so I'll wrap up my comments by saying that people can learn all about these different special events and conferences, including the ones we're doing all over in Australia in October, by going to the Transformational Shift Events website. They can look at the USA Special Events page, and they can look at the conferences page, and they can purchase tickets as well. It's all there. Adona, go ahead and do your star ancestry. And for people that want to reach Adona to receive a basic report or a premium report in terms of where they are from, who their ancestors are, which star system, which galaxies, they can reach Adona at starancestry.com. And Adona will be speaking at many of these special events that I'm producing, and people get to see Cheyenne as well. She'll be speaking at many of these events. So it's going to be a really interesting next 6 months of the year.
I wasn't sure if Adona, did you have something that you wanted to say?
Oh, I just filled in the blanks in terms of what people need to do. And she said, yeah, go ahead, Tolec. Go ahead and tell them. No, I got the go ahead.
Excellent. My ex, I met one of my exes at one of these events, so you never know what may happen. It was very good for a while there. It was an extraordinary She was super psychic. I mean, she was talking about mind reading, but there was some dark there as well. And they are so fun. James Gillian, I would look forward to meeting him. Here's a guy, a ranch in Washington, where there's freaking every weekend UFOs. People come there and talk about disclosure. Do you oh, the other one I was going to ask you about, did you ever go to the UFO Expo that Victoria Jack used to put on in the South Bay?
No, I'm not familiar with Victoria.
I was wondering if I might have met you there. She retired due to some health issues, but these were huge events with over 1,000 attendees. That's where I met David Icke and Richard Hoagland and tons of other luminaries. And we used to, at the end of the show, she would have a kind of a VIP party up at the penthouse suite, and where we would hang out. I remember talking to Mike Tessarian and Jordan Maxwell for hours, till 4 a.m. in the morning on the balcony and stuff.
That happens more than people think about at these events. People just sort of peel off into little groups and just kind of catch up. They're amazing, unique connection points, because that's, as we talked about earlier, that's when people start to open up and share their stories.
Yeah, you get to, when you meet these people in person, they can tell you more things than they can on a radio show, because they're not constrained by as many factors.
Sure.
Any other areas you want to cover? I do want to know if Viking, did you have any questions or comments for our guests?
Yeah, I just want to share, Tolec, going back to time. One of the things I've been experiencing in my life is time is just speeding up so fast, and I'm realizing is it speeding up so fast, or am I really slowing down on a galactic level? And one of the things I'm realizing is, what's happened to us in this karmic spin is that we have been segregated. Our mind, body, and spirit has been split into 3 entities. And as you start to disentangle, as I have started to disentangle from these 3D paradigms, what I'm finding is my heart mind is connecting as one. And when this happens, I'm finding that I'm finding more awareness in my higher awareness and more connectivity to who I am on a galactic level. And then my choices that I make in this paradigm becomes one of more love and light. We all start to coalesce, and we all start to live as one, and then we start to transmute this world around us into a higher paradigm. So this heart-mind connection, I find, is key. And letting go of this 3D paradigm. I mean, I've been saying even everything that we've talked about tonight has to be surrendered, because it's contrived in 3D paradigm in order to aggress into 4 and 5, because we have no idea. We have no idea. It's best not to have any idea. It's best to be part of this magical mystery tour. Anyway, it's been a pleasure, and I appreciate sharing the show. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. I think one of the other aspects that's worth touching on just briefly is the fact that when people are engaged in their lives in doing things that they really, really love and really enjoying doing, their lives become timeless. Those moments become timeless because they're living through their, as a metaphor, their hearts and not the intellect of 3D space. As a matter of fact, Adona and my own star people have told us that the journey from 3D into 4D is the journey from, if you will, the male analytical mind into the feminine heart space, and working more from a feminine, a feeling, receptive feeling perspective. It's definitely a much more intuitive way to live as compared to analytical. Very definitely, it's part of the migration that we're making.
You know, that's kind of my day job lately, it seems, is how to put this. I'm so connecting. I seem to work much more from an intuitive level than from a logical, analytical level. I mean, whether it's something I'm working or if I'm writing music, it just I'll get information. I'll go, wow, why didn't I think of that? You know, because I know it's coming from you know, a deeper place, whether it's my higher self or a guide or a muse. I don't bother with trying to sort that out. I just allow. I think a lot of it is about allowing, and we are moving. You know, the feminine energy has been so suppressed. And you know, when we talk to people, I remember talking to people about reincarnating, and I'll say, well, you know, I do remember some past lives, you know, being a female. In fact, I think I may have incarnated more. I don't know, it's been so many incarnations, but you know, and you know, men would say, oh, well, I've incarnated, but I've never been a woman. You know, it's just funny. Connecting with that feminine energy within us is so incredibly valuable. It will help you. If you're a man and you're in a relationship with a woman, you will be able to achieve greater intimacy. It's not, I'm not talking about being effeminate or, you know, emasculating yourself. I'm talking about greater connection to who we are.
You're absolutely right. It is, at least I believe, that that ability to open up also allows us to be more desirous of having greater empathy and compassion for other people as we open to our feelings more, to understand that it's not about us first. And it doesn't mean that we're perfect. You know, we're all here having this human experience, but for us to be compassionate and to empathize regarding other people in their lives, I think that's a smart direction to head in.
About 15 years ago, I was, you know, my work had collapsed, my relationship had collapsed. You know, I was in a place where I had a lot of time for introspection, and really the universe presented me with that. You know, I'm sure at a soul level, that was predetermined before I probably even incarnated. So I was, you know, trying to ask myself, what do I want to do? You know, you know, what is my goals? You know, and so I thought, you know what I want to do? I want to learn how to love. I want to learn love as a discipline, as a art form. And your point about passion was so apropos. And Viking, our good friend Viking, who's on air with us, has mentioned this to me, and he has joined me on other shows. And actually, Viking and I and another fellow, we do a Sunday night show also, which is an open roundtable show, which you're Tolec and Cheyenne and Adona you're always welcome to call into that. That's just kind of more of a free for all, and so Viking has reminded me, you know, find your passion. So that is so apropos.
Yeah, and it's finding your passion in terms of your own joys, unique joys and gifts and skills that you can offer the world. And you know, this is the ubiquitous you. Is just a valuable way to contribute to the world around you. I've done a lot of talking here. What I'm going to do now is turn over the microphone to both Adona and Cheyenne so they can provide some closing thoughts from their hearts.
One of the things that I have learned from our star people, they have always said that love is the most powerful force in the universe. And love heals all wounds of all life. Love forgives. Love frees all people. And love your family. Love your friends. Love your community. Love Mother Earth. Love the universe. Midda Kriya Oyasin. We are all related. We are one. Cheyenne?
Me?
Yes.
Well, thank you guys for including me. I wanted to add one more comment about your experience in the masculine or feminine. There's a cyclical nature to the universe, and the Earth has been operating in a zone that's been out of sync with those cycles. And what we're doing now is safely as possible, so we don't self-destruct, coming back into a harmonization. And so some of the weather patterns, some of the things we experience about male, female, opposing energies coming back into a synchronization, yin and yang. It also means our left and right hemispheres are going to be resynchronizing and reconnecting in a way that they've been separated through things we won't get into here. But all beings on this planet have masculine and feminine energy, no matter how much they find themselves associating with one or the other. And allowing yourself to find balance in all of your walk, whether that's rest and work, having a cycle back and forth will support you and create stamina, whether that's thinking or doing something that's more intuitive and artsy and feeling, whether that's going for walks in nature and then returning to a computer screen and then going for walks in nature. Find a way to have a discipline where you're not just resting, you're also moving your bodies. Integrate it in simple ways. It doesn't have to be overthought. It doesn't have to be difficult. It doesn't cost anything. And you'll find that as you balance that cycles, whether that's rest and walk or work and play, continue to do that, and you won't have any worries about your masculinity or your femininity. This is about bringing them back into balance in a cyclical way, and do that so that you can have the stamina to hold and ground in this energy that's going to continue to ramp up and increase in magnitude as well as vibrational frequency. And this is critical for everyone on the call tonight to hear that message. So thank you for letting me share it.
Oh, thank you so much, Cheyenne. I think it's for some people, it's being a bit of a confusing time as these energies escalate. Things that they used to be able to suppress emotionally are coming up. So this really is important work. Thomas, any final thoughts or questions, sir?
Well, I want to thank you for joining us tonight, and we will definitely have a part 2 to this. We just got to try and plan it out. Keith is the master of calendar on this show, and we will have you back on. I certainly want to continue this conversation, and thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, I thank you. It's been a real pleasure. It kind of feels like we've just kind of scraped the surface, and we're ready to dive into part 2.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you so much. I feel the same. We just scratched the surface of this conversation, and we'll get you on real soon for part 2 and part 3 and part 4, and of course I'll get to meet you in person soon.
Yes. And also, please donate to, if you like hearing people on the air, please donate. Click that donate tab, and let's keep this going. This kind of subject matter, conversations, topic, and please be safe on the 4th of July, guys. Just keep festivities in line and have a great weekend. And we will see you on Ground Control here next week. As always, same bat time, same bat place.
Yeah, I might as well tell you we're going to have Sasha and Janet Lesson on next week, who do a Sunday night show. I was listening to their show, and I keep finding this, Tolec. We're about to hear the music, but you keep meeting people like yourself and feeling like I've known you already for a long time. Who knows how many lifetimes it goes back, but there's so much parallel understanding and communication happening now. It's such a joy. It seems like we're all meeting each other again to do our work.
Yeah, we're all nodding our heads.
Here.